I welcome you. My name is Ziemowit and I love talking about history. And today I will tell you about an incredible event, the clash of two worlds from two distant civilizations, which took place in 751 in Central Asia. Two massive armies clashed on the Talas River, the Chinese from the Tang dynasty and the Muslims. Before I talk about this battle itself, allow me to provide some historical background to this event. At the end of 6th century, the Great Turkic Khaganate existed in Central Asia. This state politically influenced almost the entire Eurasian steppe, from the Sea of Azov in the west to Mongolia in the east. However, after the death of Khan Taspar in 581, the great alliance of steppe tribes fragmented into numerous fractions, giving rise to the Khazar Khaganate in the west, for example. Many small warring khaganates arose in Central Asia at the beginning of the 7th century, trying to gain as much control as possible over the Silk Road. At this time, Central Asia was under pressure from both sides by two powerful empires, the Chinese and the Muslims. In the 670s, vast areas of Khorasan were subjugated to Islam, and Ziyad ibn Abi Sufyan, governor of the eastern provinces, relocated 50,000 Arab warriors to Merv to ensure a military force that could loyally and effectively control these newly conquered lands. By 700 AD, the Umayyad Caliphate stretched from Morocco in the West Africa to Central Asia and was significantly larger than the Roman Empire at its peak in 117 AD under the rule of Trajan. Meanwhile, from the east, the Chinese of Tang dynasty were approaching. In 630, they militarily defeated the eastern Turkic Khaganate, thus opening the way to Central Asia. Then, years later, the Chinese occupied the Gaochang Oasis, paving the way for the future expansion. In 657, the Chinese general Su Dingfang defeated the Turkic tribes in the present-day Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, bringing them under Tang rule. This was the farthest west expansion in the history of the Tang Empire. Thus, the interests of Caliphate and the Tang Empire clashed in the wealthy merchant cities of Central Asia. The first clash of these two civilizations took place in 715 in Fergana. A governor loyal to the Chinese had previously ruled there, but the Umayyads, in agreement with the Kingdom of Tibet, orchestrated an expedition that overthrew him and installed on the throne men who didn't recognize Chinese suzerainty. Emperor Xuanzong quickly dispatched armies to the region under the command of General Zhang Xiasong, who defeated the Arab-Tibetan alliance and restored control over the Fergana Valley. 2 years later, in 717, the Muslims attacked again. This time, they attacked the important trading city of Aksu. The Turgesh from the north and the Tibetan kingdom joined the siege. The Chinese responded once again with swift. The regular Tang army arrived from the east, supported by the nomadic Karluks from the north. The Caliphate troops were severely defeated and their commander was captured by the Chinese. This secured Tang influence in Central Asia for decades to come. And this year 717 was also very unlucky for the Caliphate because they also lose very important siege of Constantinople. Until the mid-8th century, Gao Xianzi, a Korean general in service of Chinese, rampaged through the western fringes of the Tang Empire. In 750, he besieged Tashkent, which had rebelled against the Tang. When the city surrendered, he broke the terms of the truce, executing its ruler and plundering the city. The son of the ruler of Tashkent fled to Abu Muslim, a man who just victoriously ended the civil war in the Caliphate and installed a new dynasty on the throne, the Abbasids. He begged him for help against the Chinese, and Abu Muslim, with tens of thousands of warriors who just won the civil war alongside him, agreed. He placed these warriors under the command of loyal and capable Ziyad ibn Salih and sent them east to retake Tashkent and defeat the Chinese, a task that, as I mentioned earlier, the Umayyads were unable to master. So in May 751, Ziyad ibn Salih's army marched toward Tashkent. It consisted primarily of Iranian cavalry, Arab archers, and local Transoxanian mercenaries. This army was soon joined by reinforcements from Kingdom of Tibet, which eagerly supported the Muslims, seeing them as a counterweight to the Tang's domination in the region. A total of approximately 30,000 men. General Gao Xianzi, on the other hand, had a similar large army but with a completely different composition. Its core consisted of heavily armed Chinese infantry along with thousands of crossbowmen equipped with both heavy bows named Huzangnu, which could penetrate any armor existing at this time, and light crossbows, the rapid-firing Chukunu, which could fire up to 40 rounds per minute. He also had a contingent of thousands of mounted Karluks, a Turkic people living to the north of the steppes of Central Asia. These two armies met in July 751 on the banks of Talas River on the border of present-day Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. It was perhaps the most exotic battle of the Middle Ages. On one side we have the subjects of the Caliphate, including these from Egypt and Arabian Peninsula, and on the other hand we have Chinese from the Pacific coast. And what's more, we have nomads from the Asian steppe and infantrymen from the Kingdom of Tibet. With significantly more cavalry, including heavily armed Iranian regiments, Ziyad ibn Salih seized the initiative from the outset. He launched charge after charge against the Chinese positions, but was unable to break the ranks of the elite Tang infantry, and his horsemen suffered heavy losses from the rain of arrows of thousands of crossbowmen safe behind the first line. This pattern of action repeated through the first 4 days of the battle. One might say that horses' hooves were unable to breach the Chinese wall. An outflanking tactic, which would have been the best tactic in such a situation, was impossible here, because General Gao Xianzi's army was protected on the one side by the Talas River and on the other side by the Karluks and their cavalry. And this proved to be the weakest brick in the Chinese wall, the loyalty of the Turanian people. At night, after the 4th day of battle, Ziyad ibn Salih secretly sent envoys to the Karluks, urging them to side with him in exchange for recognition of their rule in the steppe and alliance with the powerful Caliphate. The negotiations were successful. On the 5th day of battle, as the Chinese infantry prepared for another clash with the Muslim forces, they were surprised to find themselves attacked by the Karluks cavalry on their flank. Naturally, seeing that his new ally had kept his word, Ziyad ibn Salih ordered a frontal attack by his forces. Gao Xianzi found himself trapped. His elite army defended bravely, but were outnumbered too greatly to withstand. He managed to break through at the head of his personal cavalry and escaped into the mountains with several thousand survivors from his army. Some 20,000 Chinese were killed or captured on the banks of the Talas River in July 751. Despite this historic victory, Ziyad ibn Salih's fate ended tragically shortly thereafter. His growing influence alarmed the authorities in Baghdad. The first caliph of Abbasid dynasty, As-Safah, feared the immense power and popularity of both Abu Muslim and Ziyad ibn Salih in Khorasan, decided to play off these two commanders. The caliph secretly offered Ziyad the governorship of the entire region in exchange for Abu Muslim's elimination. Motivated by caliph's support, Ziyad rose in revolt. However, he was betrayed by his officers, who preferred to remain loyal to Abu Muslim. Ziyad attempted to escape to the Amudarya river, but the Persian governor captured him, beheaded, and sent it back to Abu Muslim as a token of loyalty. Meanwhile, Gao Xianzi returned to the capital of the Tang Empire and, despite the defeat, continued to enjoy a reputation of a good commander. When a rebellion broke against the Tang 4 years later, he led the army defending the emperor from the rebels. Despite victory in the battle, he fell victim to court intrigue and emperor ordered his beheading in 756 based on false evidence. The Battle of Talas River had three great consequences. First, the Chinese were driven from Central Asia and they were not able to return their military presence there for 1,000 years. Second, the initial alliance between the Karluks and the Caliphate paved the way for the accelerated Islamization of Central Asia. And the third, among the captives from the Talas River were Chinese artisans skilled in papermaking. They were transported to Samarkand, where the first paper factories west of China were established. The secret, kept in China for centuries, now began to spread through Asia. However, both Ziyad ibn Salih rebellion in Khorasan and the civil war in China weakened the political influence of both empires in Central Asia. So the Turkic people now become the most strong political entity here, shaping the face of the region until the 13th century, when the Mongols arrived from the east. Thank you very much for listening. It was Ziemowit about history.